Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 275. And in today's short and sweet episode, we're just going to talk about one of the things that, as a very brash young man, I really got wrong. It took me a little bit of time to really understand that when I wanted somebody to do something, explain why. There has to be a why behind it. My strategy at first, because I was very young and brash, I could easily quote the OSHA CFR chapter and verse. I could tell you these things, and it did work on some people. But I would say that the majority of the people just would look at me with glassed glassed over eyes, not really understanding what I just said there, because what I was doing is let's just call it a law, a regulation, best industry practice. I was telling them that. I wasn't telling them why it's important. I was just saying, but this is why we do it because somebody made a regulation. Somebody decided this is a best industry practice. I never really got to the point, and it took me a little bit of time. It took me a couple of months to really kind of really get going, kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work, and there's not going to be a magic bullet out there. But I have found that for the vast majority of the people, if you just sit down and really explain why, they really want to follow it. So they may not 100% understand what you said, but they really get the intent. And the intent is, of course, we want you to obviously operate safe, and all the other stuff that we say as safety professionals. But when you understand why, you can also make it personal because then it's very easy to add in a story, which is also something that even after over 30 years, I'm really trying to get better at telling a story. There's more to telling a story than just blurting out something. There's the dramatic pause. Because you're trying to make a point with a story. You're not just telling a story for the sake of telling a story out there. But let's get back to the topic. Explain why. When somebody says, why can't I just get in that sewer real fast and replace a couple of those bricks? You have to explain why. This is why we test for atmosphere. This is why we set up the tripod. This is why you wear the harness. Just go over the whole why, not just it's because the CFR 146 says when you're going to do confined space that you will do the following. You know, Nice starting point. Kind of falls deaf on most people. Just like if you could really explain why, if you're going to follow lockout tagout, you say this is exactly why that we have to do it this way too, of course, because you communicate with the operator, and you go over all the steps, and you literally sit down and practice too. Just like when you do a class, you can explain why, but you should also walk through the motions the very best you can. I know if you're doing some kind of presentation or speech for a group of 300, that may not be the right forum, but you can still explain why. You can go through the steps, really help people to understand that whole thing. So let's just go ahead and sign off for today. All I can leave folks with is I really believe that people want to do the right thing. They want to operate safe. Nobody wants to get hurt out there. There's not anybody out there saying this is going to be awesome. I'm going to lose a finger and it's going to be worth it because here's my monetary value behind it. I just don't think that happens out there. So, um, and with that, let's call it a day. Episode number 275 is complete. I want everybody to kind of when we're talking to employees and of course to management. I know that in this I really focus to the people who do the work, of course, but when we think about we have to talk to the management and our bosses and somebody says so tell me again why we're going to do this, like why wasn't it done, you couldn't just do an email and that counts, and that is communication. I don't think it's a very effective communication at all. But let's go ahead there and wrap up. 275 is complete. I want to thank everybody for joining me. My name is Dr. David Ayers. Thank you and have a safe day.